Eating disorders. You hear about them, you may know someone with them, but you don't know anything about them. So basically, eating disorders are a large problem in the US, as a portion of men and women have eating disorders. So basically, while women have eating disorders more, men can also have eating disorders, and this can take a big toll on their lives and kind of occupy what they do and change their life forever. So, if you know someone with an eating disorder, please reach out to them, call some hotlines for them, and really help them to become a better person. So today, in light of that, we're going to talk about the eating disorders: selective eating disorder, orthorexia, and binge eating disorder. Now, binge eating disorder is super common, as orthorexia can be also romanticized by the Hollywood community, and selective eating comes from an innocent, childish behavior that can turn into a big concern, children or adults. So without further ado, let's get into it. So basically, with selective eating disorder, I'm just going to call it selective eating disorder because that is the common name. The casual name, I put the full name on the screen right there, as you can see. So with selecting eating disorder, this can first start off as an innocent kind of habit, and then it can turn into an eating disorder. So this is like very extreme. This is not like just a picky eater. This is like if you do not have enough nutrients to grow and develop as a kid or as to maintain body function as an adult. So basically, let's get into what this selective eating disorder really is. It is basically when you are super picky, but not just a picky eater. You're like scared of other foods, touching one food, really kind of like obsessive about the details of some food. And so you in turn do not get enough nutrients. As it's fine that we all have our own preferences, this kind of gets in the way if you're not getting enough nutrients. Like if you do not eat vegetables, how else are you going to get your fibers? Like you need to think about that. Or if you only eat cheese pizza, how can you get your protein? So there are other concerns as you need to evaluate with this eating disorder. Of course, this is very extreme. This is not your just normal picky eater who just eats what he likes, but that can also affect what your nutrition is. So if you're just a picky eater, not as much as if you're actually like in this selective eating disorder category where you're avoiding foods that are necessary for your growth and your function. So that's the thing to keep in mind. That's what selective eating disorder really is. It's basically like limiting foods super drastically that actually affect your body's nutrients and what kind of how you can function basically. So basically, binge eating is actually when some people like they eat uncontrollably and they kind of cannot stop themselves, usually in a short period of time. So basically, they just eat the food. They cannot think about the food that they're eating. There's no process. They don't feel themselves getting full. They just stuff themselves more and more, and basically ridiculously large amounts of food. that shouldn't be completed in a daily level. Like something like that Nikocado Avocado suffers from binge eating. He suffers from just over and over force feeding so many calories, just getting as obese as he can get. And that's just one example. Some people want to change this behavior, and they're not like how he portrays on camera, which is, oh, he's fine, he's trolling doctors. Most people actually want to stop binge eating. And it's really bad because at that point, the longer as it goes, people have less and less control of the binge eating habits. So that's kind of what you need to keep in mind. Binge eating, unlike bulimia, is not followed by purging or throwing up or any kind of other method to reduce the food, like excessive exercising. That does not happen with binge eating. So binge eating is basically where the people get overweight or obese, the victims. So we should keep that in mind, as if anyone's struggling with binge eating, it's a horrible, horrible disorder, and please call or text a hotline. I mean, binge eating is just like, it may be one of the worst, but unfortunately, it's the most common. Males and females have binge eating almost equally or equally. This is actually one of the most common misconceptions. Now, that does not mean that everyone who eats occasionally large amounts of food, like anybody who gobbles down a cheesecake once in a while, is a binge eater. That's not what I'm trying to say. It's over and over again, usually large, excessive amounts. And usually or almost always, the people, the victims, are guilty of this binge eating, and basically they will not purge. So they're just so guilty about the binge eating a lot of food. And that's all that I kind of have for now. Let's binge get eating. Into I hope you reach out to someone if they have a problem with binge eating. So basically with orthorexia, we want to keep in mind that this eating disorder occurs when victims get too obsessive about clean eating, which is basically like eating only foods that are considered good, like chicken, broccoli, rice, only eating good food groups, basically protein, vegetables are the only thing that they eat, maybe a couple of starches, eliminate fat, sugar, carbohydrates, everything immediately. Now, this may sound nice at the beginning, but actually, this can get obsessive, unsustainable, and basically at that point, they're just so obsessive about not eating maybe 1 gram of any other substance than their chicken, broccoli, rice, protein powder meal. This actually can also be egged on by social media and other sites that basically embrace these challenges, which are not sustainable and can lead to some eating disorders, as some famous YouTubers like Josh Brett actually has experienced this. And this is basically like, it can also be followed by binge eating because they're on such a restricted diet, and then they feel like having a whole loaf of bread. So that's also another thing that we need to watch out for. But it's basically, I say macro and calorie counting. Now, those are usually good or fine things when done in moderation, but this is like obsessing about them, getting the calories and macros as low. This is like not being able to sleep at night if there's 1 gram difference. So basically, this is like super into details, but like details that are super excessive and unhealthy, cutting out everything. It's like basically can be from one of those celebrity diets, as celebrities also, like, they report torture, they report hell and stuff that they have to go through On top of that, they might also be enhanced with PEDs, and even the motivation that is given by the money, the endorsements, doesn't make it feel better. Some celebrities, a lot of them, actually gain the weight back, but basically, people only see the good sides, all the good physiques, the after pictures, all of that nice stuff, and they basically forget that these people are getting tortured. There's an easier way to diet. There is an easier way to get that physique. Maybe not quite like a superhero physique, but after they have the superhero physique, a lot of them, actually most of them, die off and they start to get into habits of binge eating maybe, or maybe just like gaining the weight back, yo-yo dieting. You don't see what's going on behind the curtain. That's the problem. And that's where orthorexia could be, because they have to eat as clean, they have to portray themselves as eating as clean, and it's just torture. It's just super excessive and obsessive dieting that needs to be limited and stopped. So that's kind of orthorexia. Very, very obsessive with clean eating and good nutrition, but going to the level that is way too far. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. As always, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Look out for future videos and share this channel around the world. Of course, as I hope you learned that eating disorders are not very pleasant, as that's obvious, and I hope you learn more about the different types of eating disorders and basically what they entail. So, if you know anyone who's struggling with an eating disorder, please search it up, reach out for help, and there are plenty of hotlines, I imagine, which can give you help for eating disorders. And I hope you guys like this video. Stay tuned for the next one. Bye bye.